All right, welcome to the podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Rob Corlick.
And I'm Darryn Terzo.
And today we're going to be reviewing the movie The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. Seems like a very busy guy, doesn't he, Darryn?
It's a movie that writes itself, Rob.
Oh my God. You had a title for a script, and that's all they needed was just that front page. They had it sold in any market. What I want to do first before we get into this movie, and I've got a lot that I want to unpack with you, Darryn, but one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about is how we arrived at coming up with this idea. This is our first episode, and I wanted to kind of discuss kind of how we got to this point. So a little bit about me, first of all, and then I'll throw it over to you. I've loved movies my whole life. I've always enjoyed the escapism of a good movie, and I've come to really enjoy tearing apart a horrible one with you as well, Darryn. And I got to say, one of the things that I think that sets us apart from other groups doing the exact same thing we're doing is that we have absolutely no background in film. So we are absolute amateurs in every regard. This is our first film. This is our first podcast. We are on the ground floor, so to
some big movie buff myself. Always love movies. Huge fan of movies. I have still over 800 DVDs, which are now just basically plastic paperweights given the internet access. Although now I do proudly own a copy of The Man Who Killed Both Hitler and the Bigfoot. So that's boasting in my collection. I
happily don't own it.
I actually do have a little bit of a film background. I took it film and video in high school. It was a fantastic course. I absolutely loved it. I also am one of very few people who can proudly boast that they failed Film 100 twice in university. It was
we are
so
absolutely
dry.
Perfect for this podcast.
Yeah, it was so bad of a class. It was held at 7:00 at night on a Wednesday. So after 3 days of wrestling practice in university, head over to film class right after practice. Exhausted, hungry, ready to go to bed, but fell asleep through most of that class and ended up with the 47 that I deserved twice.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you failed Film 100 twice, and I wasn't smart enough to take it. And here we are. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the podcast about movies by these two guys. This is our first episode, The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. Oh, my God. What a brilliant title for a movie. Okay. So the movie starts...
I have to digress real quick here, Rob. Now,
of course. Go
ahead. This is exactly how I picture it. So there's a movie writer in Los Angeles, let's say. He wakes up in a cold sweat, 3:00 in the morning. He's obviously in a very small apartment. You know, there's sirens all over the place, possibly some
I'm thinking
gunshots.
His parents' basement, maybe? I don't know.
Ooh, that's another good one. But he wakes up, and all he has is this idea of a man who kills both Hitler and then the Bigfoot, and that's all he's got as a title. And he walks into, I wish I had it in front of me because I don't know what studio actually produced this movie, but he walks in and all he's got is a title page because he hasn't written the script yet, and he slaps it down on the desk and he's like, I've got your next blockbuster. And the guy looks down and it's a reused piece of paper that says The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. And he obviously
Let's call it what it was. It was a
like,
napkin. It was a napkin from the Olive Garden.
The napkin.
It was absolutely a napkin from the Olive Garden.
So that is the way that I picture this movie coming too. So, and sorry, you may continue, Rob.
Oh, okay, sure, perfect. Yeah.
My grandfather used to tell me stories all about this one soldier. As he got older, the stories got stranger. Some I believed, others I don't know. But it wasn't describing a man.
Wallet, keys.
It was more like something mythic, legendary. You didn't pull any swords from any stones, did you? But you might have done something. Something bigger, maybe.
So how have you been? You look a little tired.
What's bothering you?
Things I could have done differently. Regrets. I shot someone during the war. I never wanted that, even if he had it coming. And he did.
You've heard about the killings up north?
What's the FBI have to do with it?
Imagine all our worst fears about influenza, inhumans, bovine, swine, all of it coming true to life, only worse.
It's the Bigfoot, Ed. They want me to kill it. It's the carrier of this plague-type thing.
Well, that's no good.
If we cannot contain the beast, if we cannot destroy it and it escapes, it could mean the very end of our world as we know it.
You're the last resort.
The movie opens with one of the two songs that they use in the entire film, and it's Billy Squier's "Lonely Is the Night." Did you notice this, Darren? Did you notice that this was like pretty blockbuster hit? Oh my God. As soon as it started, I was like, yeah, we're starting with some 80s rock here, baby. It's not 80s rock, but it has that feel, you know what I mean? So "Lonely Is the Night" is the first and one of only real songs in the movie. It just starts on the jukebox, and we get into this beautifully lit scene in a bar. And Sam Elliott's character is not facing the camera; he's drinking alone at the bar, and the movie is properly on its way. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is I noticed that like this scene in particular was like really well lit and put together. Like it is an absolute fun thing to look at. Did you notice this at all?
I will say that most of the movie was extremely well shot. Like it was very interesting. A lot of the scenes like really did captivate you, if not for the fact that you knew what was coming. You were actually pulled into a lot of the scenes.
Hitler,
it was really
and then
well
the
shot.
Bigfoot, you mean?
Right. Obviously, if you didn't know the hokiness going into the title, you would have been fairly well intrigued.
Like it is a fantastically well lit movie. So Sam Elliott is playing a character by the name of Calvin Barr, and he's drinking alone at a bar. Classic loner move, right? But here's the thing. I noticed like he's not just alone, man. He's like absolutely alone. Like there isn't anyone around. There's no waitresses. There's no bartender. Like he's legit alone. And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, does this guy own the bar? Is he drinking after hours? Like what's going on here, man? Like there's absolutely nobody. And he's really given off some Whittleford Brimley vibes for me, man. Like he's given off some real like.
If you have diabetes, you check your blood sugar and you check it off, and there's no reason not to.
Diabetes.
But yeah, he doesn't say that. But as he's sipping into whatever beverage of choice, he ends up getting into what we have as a first flashback of many flashbacks in this movie. And it cuts to a desk Nazi in the middle of what I can only assume is World War II, complete with a Hitler mustache and a white suit, being incredibly meticulous as he checks over papers and he rummages through things and checks protocols. And this was a fantastic scene of quick cuts and fast little zoom ins, and you had this very meticulous Nazi just going through all the paces with this a very American looking actor who wasn't German at all. What did you feel about this scene? How did this one come across for you? This first flashback.
It was interesting. There was a lot going on. The Nazi secretary, I guess, or security commissioner, really. Doing his job very meticulously. A little bit of comedy thrown in there too, as he keeps covering his drink because bombs are dropping all over the place and it's bringing dust down. So dust keeps falling in his drink, so he covers it. A lot of quick, like you mentioned, a lot of quick cuts and zooms, and just like it was almost like the director just got a new toy and he's like, all right, let's show it off.
Yeah, I got that.
But
feeling. I got that feeling too.
It brought a lot of build up, and I thought that we were just going to roll straight into exactly what happened. But again, the flashbacks, it was a lot of back and forth. Jerry. Like now you're in 2000, now you're in 1945, now you're in 2000, now you're in 1945.
Now you're in a teepee with a barber. Exactly. No, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during all of these quick cuts, which you said is like a director with a new toy, I wrote in my notes that he's trying his best to be Quentin Tarantino-ish. So yeah, very Tarantino-ish, quick, kind of cool cuts. It was giving me those kinds of vibes. But you said there was a comedy spot in there where he's covering his drink because all of the dust is flying. There's, I believe, another comedy spot in that exact scene as well, where the guy checks his watch, and yeah, you bet, it's a Nazi watch, complete with swastika. Oh my God, it had to be standard issue. This watch blew my mind, Darren. This watch, absolutely, I was like, okay, now I wasn't sure for sure what kind of a movie I was watching. The Nazi watch completed the set for me, and I was 100% in. 100%. What'd you think of the Nazi watch, Darren?
Well, the question I have is if it actually existed in real life, or if somebody just threw that out there. So, and if you haven't seen the movie, what it is it's a watch face, but a swastika in the middle, and the swastika is the second hand that's moving around. So it's kind of like being at a swimming pool where you see the water polo clock that has 4 different colored hands that are just rotating in like the X, except for a swastika. So
this was an evil water polo watch. Is that what you're saying? This was an evil water polo watch. Excellent.
So
that could be the title of this episode right there.
And I just don't know how realistic it was. Like, were the Nazis actually like, very commercially paid professional athletes, where they were like showing off all of their, Nike swooshes and stuff like that? Like, they just like, oh, I don't know if you got this, but I have the Nazi swastika watch. It's a limited edition.
Oh, is that Dolphy the 44? What did they add to the 44? I got the 43.
Exactly. Yeah, I just don't think that's realistic. But it was a very nice
realistic because Bigfoot and Hitler getting killed in one movie. Maybe
by the same person. Yeah.
The sound effect as he put on his coat was a whip crack sound, and it was just absolutely like, what?
The man can put on a leather jacket.
Oh,
yeah. Well, yeah. Hardly. It's actually not common knowledge that the Nazi issue jackets, the third series, was actually they did have tassels in the back that made whip noises.
Oh, so that's actually so historically accurate to me now. Yeah. Yes. Oh,
I did my research.
Good. I thought you did. I thought you would be the guy to do all the research. That's awesome, man. I did not know that. I did not know that whip tassels were a part of the standard issue Nazi jackets. That's fantastic.
Only series 3.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, series 2 did not have that. This movie's got some sick jacket game, man. I'm going to be bringing it up a bunch, man. There are some pretty fantastic jackets in this movie. So we flash back now. We're back in the bar. We're back with Wilford Brimley. Sam Elliott, and turns out there is actually a bartender. We just didn't see him before, so he gets introduced now, and they have this little back and forth together where it's bartender closing up, old man needs to go home kind of thing. And here's where the one of the first quotes of the movie that really caught my eye starting the film showed up. So he's putting on his coat, which I absolutely love, his Sam Elliott's coat in this scene. It's like the Rocky Balboa coat from like Rocky IV when he's like running through Russia and like lifting logs and barrels with his bare hands. It's the same. I'm sure it's if it's not the same jacket, it's damn close. So obviously I was like, yeah, this guy's the real deal. He's got a pretty cool jacket. So, but the quote between the two of them as he's leaving is, Sam Elliott turns to him and says, I'm giving up drinking. Well, see you tomorrow. And he goes out the door. Oh, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, he's probably said it a few times.
Yeah, I would think so too. Yeah,
because when you're the man who's killed Hitler, not yet Bigfoot, you're drinking. Yeah.
Oh, Yeah, you're gonna have to deal with that. You're gonna have to deal with that.
There's
and actually, I think the whole movie is him. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the whole movie's based on these demons. So, okay, so we cut back into the back of Old Bar's coat, and love that coat. And he's just walking down the street, and he's taking this like really long drunk walk to his car, so he can, I guess, commit a DUI. He's jumped by 3 tough guys. Did you like these tough guys, Darren?
The tough guys were absolutely pulled off the street at the last minute and were the furthest subpar actors that they could possibly find.
Now, you describe these 3 guys as being, not the most important part of the film, but the scene that progresses from here, where they take a very important picture of a very important girl away from Cal, that we'll find out later. Right now, we just know that it's important to him because he really doesn't want to give it up. But the scene that goes after this, where you said these guys are subpar actors, but holy man, the scene that goes on after definitely is not subpar. We get some real, like, he wrecks their shit in the next scene, and takes the 3 guys out in about 7 seconds. And what I would say is a fantastic shot. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. It was good. It was probably the best action sequence of the movie. The only issue I had with it was the third would-be assailant, had a gun and allowed his other 2 friends to have the absolute tar kicked out of them before pulling his gun out at the very last second and being disarmed by a flying, I think it was a tire iron.
Yeah,
I don't even know what he came across.
Tire iron, gooseneck, something like that, crowbar maybe.
Yeah, I just didn't understand what took him so long. Maybe he didn't have it loaded and it was a 6-shooter and he's just, plugging bullets away. I don't know. We may never know. So
maybe he needed to assemble it first. Maybe it was in one of those cases that has like one of those really tricky locks, like they can't get the lock out. It's like 667, man. Come on, 667.
Yeah,
I didn't see
the com. I don't know why they trusted that guy with the gun. Yeah.
Never trust the back guy with the gun. That's important. So he takes out these guys, Jason Bourne style, in about 5 seconds in what might be the best put together shot in the entire movie. And then we get like this like weird smash cut to Technicolor suburbia.
We got a definite Edward Scissorhands city or small town, but like in one house.
Yeah,
right?
Good call.
So,
I didn't even think of that. Beautiful. Yeah, the Edward Scissorhands township. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There you go.
But in one house.
But of course. Well, all of them were weird, different colors, and there was like 17 different color mailboxes. Are you ready for flashback number 2?
Never
By the way,
been readier.
Okay, good. Because if you weren't ready, I just need to brace you, because this is 12 minutes into the film. So at the 12-minute mark, we've now had 2 flashback scenes where the movie is now on par for 9 to 10 flashbacks. He's going into what I think is a tent. I'm not sure. It's not a teepee. I looked very carefully. It wasn't a teepee.
Yeah, there's definitely a cowboy setup here, Rob. Or feeling, I should say.
Yeah. They didn't have the pork beans rotating on a campfire spittle, though. So that we didn't quite. Yeah, that we saw. Very true. It could have been there. Could have been there for sure. Okay, so this leads me to like quite possibly the most ridiculous scene I've ever seen in a movie ever. And we have somebody who is talking to him, and he says a quote that I absolutely had to pause and reflect on immediately when I heard it. And this new guy who sounds kind of Russian, says, "I see artistic love in your eyes." That's the line. What did you feel about this quote? "I see artistic love in your eyes," Darren.
The whole Russian guy in the weird tent scene just was like very awkward to me. Like I just didn't get it.
It was a little out of place.
It was so out of place, and the guy was he was so odd. He goes on about how he was raised by gypsies, and he has a lot of theory. He has a lot of
he goes on.
He certainly does. He talks the entire time. Calvin gets about 3 lines in and it's all very, very slow and dry. It's
By the way,
I guess it is suspenseful, but
yeah, we'll get there. I want to talk about that. I want to unpack that because I completely agree. It was suspenseful somehow, even though it was the most ridiculous scene that you could ever pitch ever. Like, how did they get this scene greenlit? That's my question. But he sits down, they have a discussion about destiny and about missions and about being raised by gypsies and being, in good nature or having the right frame of mind or something. And then he's going to shave him. He's going to shave Calvin. And he's going to, as he shaves him, he's going to try his best not to cut him. He's going to try his best to be a good barber and shave his beard off. And he's going to try his hardest not to cut him. But if he does cut him, he's going to be successful if he cuts him. Is that right? Is that how it goes?
yes.
If he cuts him, he's going to be successful in his mission. But if he doesn't cut him, then he's not going to be successful and he's going to die. So what we have essentially is a barber in a tent in the cowboy days, shaving a beard off and fortune telling the entire time, I guess. What are your thoughts on that? This is ridiculous, is it not?
It's a weird way to predict the future, but I've never, I haven't studied gypsy mythology enough to disagree with anything that goes on.
Oh, so your research only delved into Nazi memorabilia and fashion.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a busy guy. I've got a lot of things.
I didn't know. Yeah, you are. You are a very busy man. You got a lot of things on the go. I just didn't know how deep you really researched this film but thanks for letting me know where the line is. Okay, so gypsy mythology, we are not experts. So this could be a thing. So he has to shave him. If he cuts him, he will be successful. If he doesn't cut him, then he won't be successful. And he shaves the whole thing, and he doesn't cut him. He does a perfect job. There's no blood. So to get through the scene, to finish off, he cuts him behind the ear on purpose, which defeats the entire purpose of the whole thing. And now he says, you'll be successful, but you're going to be cursed and die.
Mm-hmm. Well, he'll be cursed. He won't. But there will. So the third stipulation, and just to go back, was that if he cuts him on purpose, or if Calvin takes a cut on purpose and moves, then they will both be doomed. He'll be successful in the mission, but they'll both be doomed. So he finishes and he says, "Oh, it's a great shave." Yeah. And he says, "Oh, it's a great shave. I didn't cut you." So then he cuts him behind the ear. So he'll be successful and kill Hitler, but he'll be doomed. So
now, do you think that the Russian guy knows his mission, or do you think that he just knows he's up to no good at this point? What do you think?
I think he just knows that he has to smuggle him across the German border, and I don't think he knows exactly what he's up to. But I mean, you could probably put it together. Like, here's a very obvious American Pie American trying to get into Germany.
Like, not the film, the actual Pie or the McLean song. You need to be more clear, Darren.
Yes, he's very like this guy is very obviously an all-American quarterback. He's got apple pie crumbs
not
in
Jason
his beard.
Biggs. Yes,
not
Jason Biggs. We're not talking about. No, we're not going there.
Right.
Okay, good. And then we cut back to Old Bars. We got Sam Elliott again, who's doing a fantastic job. He's walking his dog. What'd you think of this dog, man? I love this dog.
Dog was great. Dog didn't do anything. He just every time you looked, he was either just like walking silently or laying, just sleeping.
Right.
So
yeah, he was like a super good boy.
He's the perfect companion for an old man, for an old drunk.
Yes, absolutely. I love this doggo. So they're out for a walk. His shoe's bugging him. He keeps tapping it. He might have like a foot injury or something going on, or like a quarter in his heel or something. And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, man, maybe this is going to matter a little bit later, like Good thing we were here to watch this precious piece of information. Otherwise, we'd be completely lost.
Yeah.
I got real, like, Chris Farley, Wayne's World vibes from this moment.
He's going across the country right now to look for new acts assigned to his label. Next stop is St. Louis, and he's going to come back through Chicago on his way to Detroit.
So one thing that I did learn in my couple rounds of film class, was that these are called setup and payoff. So early in the movie, you set something up like, oh, there's something in his shoe that he just can't quite find. And then later in the movie, it'll prove to be important, and that's your payoff. So setup and payoff.
Oh, there you go. I've learned something new here. Yeah, I really hope it pays off later. I really do. I would hate to wait until the 1 hour and 28-minute mark to get that payoff, but we'll see what happens. So he's out for a walk with his dog. He goes past a store. He's sitting on a bench. And I guess he gets some lottery ticket, and he goes into the store and he has this conversation with a clerk, which I found that was really interesting. Why don't you go through some of that, what your thoughts were on this conversation? Because I really feel like this was the director's chance to really show us what this movie is all about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about.
Well, what good are you?
He walks into the convenience store and he asks if that's a ticket that would be sold at that store. And the clerk says, yeah, probably. He says, well, do you know anything about the person who might have purchased it? And he's like, no, anybody could have purchased it. It looks like just a ticket that somebody lost. And he's like, okay, well, I don't want it. So why don't you hold on to it for a few days? And then if nobody claims it, you can have it. It's just like, just take the money and run, old man. Like, he's very obviously not well off. Like,
he's not rolling in money. He's using like silverware and plates from probably the 1980s. Like, we're obviously in a situation where he could use the cash if he wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what does this tell us about his character here? Like, because this is really, I think, what the whole point of the movie is about. Is this guy doesn't fit in with the rest of the world right now, right? Like, that's the whole point of this. Like, he even said, like, I think he pays with, like, an old bill or something, and the guy says, yeah, there's just some old ones of these just hanging around. That's the exact quote that the shopkeeper gives him. There's just some old ones just hanging around. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, so this is what the movie's about. There's an old man, and there's an old dollar bill or something. And it's like, so like this is where they're really swinging for like the philosophical fences, right? Like he doesn't fit in with society. He still wants to talk to people. He still wants to do the right thing, even though it's not the easy thing. And people are confused by this. Like, that's the vibe you got from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's so deep, so very deep,
so deep.
Yeah. So he goes back out and he's on his walk and he sits down at a bench. And I guess there's another kind of flashback. I didn't count this one because it was just so short, but he basically sees himself working in like this like hat shop in like the good old days again. And he's sitting on this bench kind of reminiscing. And this is where he meets a lady, and at this point I didn't know for sure if it was going to be the lady from the picture or not. I kind of hoped it was, but it was such a fast scene that you don't really know for sure. But obviously he's meeting this lady, and they kind of stand toe to toe in the hat store, and then he's off to get a haircut. So this part I love, and I want to really dive into this with you because I'm not going to lie, I was legit blown back in my chair when they introduced the second cool watch of the movie. They had a mirrored backwards clock in the barbershop. So when you're getting a haircut, the hands in the window reflection, in the mirror reflection while you're getting your haircut, the hands look right. But when you look at the actual clock, it's all mirrored, right? This is amazing. Have you ever seen this in your real life?
I haven't seen it. No, it's something else, Rob.
This is great, man. I love it. Oh my God. I love it. I want every single barbershop to have one of these. Okay, so let's talk about the barber. I want to get into the barber here. Let's chat. So, did you recognize this guy?
Yes. I can't remember his name or anything, but he's all over the place. Like, yeah,
he's that guy, right? Yeah. Okay, so here's how I
absolutely that guy.
I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. It's Larry Miller. He's the doorman, Jerry. The doorman.
Oh, really? The doorman. And pray tell, what did the doorman say?
I could not get enough of the doorman, okay? So, like, Larry Miller's his brother. Turns out the barber's his brother. They kind of have this little chat. And, like, first of all, I want to say, like, they don't look anything alike, right? Like, these guys are not even closely cast as brothers. Like, I believed Bradley Cooper was Sam Elliott's brother way more than I believe that the doorman is. How about you?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny piece of trivia, A Star is Born and this movie both released in the exact same year, 2018. What a choice for Sam Elliott to be in both of these movies. Okay, so like we got to speed this up because we're going late. We're only at 28 minutes in the movie, so I'm going to try and keep this going a little faster. We get our third or fourth flashback at this point, if you count the Hat Lady, which I don't count the Hat Lady. So now we're into the Russians again, and the Russians give them a little doggo. It's a different doggo than the first one, but I love this one too. What'd you think of this dog, man? He's awesome.
The dog was cool. It was very token. Like it was almost like his. It was almost like his identification to prove that he was German because it was a German Shepherd. They're like, oh, you can't possibly go into Germany without this dog.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The most disturbing part
I think that's their version of passports. That was their passport, right? Like
that was the only thing I could think of.
German Shepherd, you're German. That's right.
I just couldn't think of any other reason that he would need a dog. And then the most disturbing part I found about the dog scene was the kid comes out of the barn. He's obviously upset because he has to give this clear-cut American his German passport, which is a dog.
Yes, obviously.
But the kid is just like, he's just like kind of sad and like hands him the leash and then he's like, meh. And then he just walks away. And that's it. Like, I mean, the kid was not devastated in any way. It was like, oh, I have to give up my dog? And like, yeah, you do, Tim. And he's like, and then he just walks away.
All right. Okay.
All right.
I remembered the tree they met under more than I remembered that kid. So that tells you how much that kid made an impact on me. I'm like, this tree's going to matter later. This thing is set up so perfectly for it. But no, they never go back. So all the Russians give him his German Shepherd passport and they send him on his way and they give him a rowboat. And he gets in this rowboat and he goes past this broken bridge. And he passes Sandra Bullock in a blindfold with 2 kids. And then he ends up in a chicken truck. And then he's on a train. So we're back at the Nazi desk jockey, all in white with the Nazi flask. And he's going through all of that. And we're finally back at the covering the glass guy. And of course, every story checks out. Everything's good. All of his papers are right. He can take his swallow, throw back his whip jacket, and he can make his way into what I called Hitler's den. What did you think of Hitler's den? Well, before you answer that, he actually gets into like this moment where he's kind of putting together his gun and he runs across like 2 no-name soldiers while he's trying to put together his gun. What did you think of that scene?
Yeah, it was kind of rammed in there. It was just like, oh, by the way, it was more than just like a trip across the German countryside. He also, had to encounter some Germans.
But not really hard to get past them. He even screws up and like drops his gun or something, and like they didn't say anything.
Well, he had the German Shepherd,
right? I forgot about the German Shepherd. That's right. He had the golden ticket, man. He's fine. Yes. So he makes his way into Hitler's den, and this is like my favorite scene in the whole movie because I realized, okay, I got to stop taking this movie so seriously and just like enjoy it for schmuck. Like he goes in. He makes his way over to Hitler, who's standing by his fireplace, of course, and he does the heil. He heils him. But you notice what he did after? What did he do after he heiled him? What did he do?
They made a very clear point. As he was heiling Hitler, he puts his left hand behind his back and crosses his fingers.
Oh, yes, he did.
Saying something to somebody, but he's like, oh, that's not true. I don't actually heil you, sir.
Oh, now that
was unique. Yeah, he just wanted to make sure, like the director wanted to make sure, like, he hasn't gone
like
rogue.
Nazis here. He's not a Nazi sympathizer. No. Yeah, we don't like Nazis here. The Heil didn't mean anything. He had his fingers crossed the whole time. What an amazing thing to say. Yeah. Oh my God.
It was almost like somebody else was writing it at that point. You know, like somebody else was just like, oh, by the way, you know what we should do as a gag? Let's cross his fingers behind his back.
Yeah. It's like if Tarantino got a lobotomy and then still tried to make movies. That would be what he would do. It was fantastic. So we're at the 30-minute mark, not quite, and he takes out the flask, which turns out is a silencer, by the way, and he shoots Hitler twice with it. So I don't know about you, but I felt like Hitler really went down faster than I expected, and I feel like there was like a deleted scene here or something that could have really went down and been great. Like in my mind, I like envisioned this like parkour fight around the den, you know, like they're breaking paintings over each other's heads and throwing like ashes at each other and like going ass over teeth across the Chesterfields, and the leather-bound books are getting thrown at each other, and then the other two guys from the hallway, they come in and they accidentally get shot by Hitler, and like there could have been a real Jason Bourne scene where they tore up that juicy set. What did you think?
I don't think it was that type of assassination at all. I think they did a pretty good job of first like surprising Hitler. So the item that he hands him in front of the fireplace, Hitler calls him over to his desk. They both sit down. He opens the envelope, and it's an Uncle Sam poster that says "Uncle Sam wants you." And Hitler looks up real quick, and by this time, Calvin has already stood up and has his gun assembled, points it at him, shoots him in the chest, and then you don't see it. You see it from the back of the chair. Obviously, he gets shot through the head. Hitler's dead. I'm out the back door, which, why does this office have a back door that nobody is guarding? I don't know, but he makes a clean escape.
Turns out he could have just went in that door and everything would have been, he wouldn't have been able to meet the cool Nazi in the white suit if he if he went in through the back door.
Exactly.
Come on, man, use your head.
Yeah. So I think at this point we need to skip over a lot of the other stuff that happens, and then just get straight to the meat, which is the introduction to the federal agents and the obvious second half of this movie, which is the Bigfoot.
We did have another flashback, so I don't want to talk quickly about the flashback. So we get this like bully in the flashback that says like, move your table, it's in the way of everything, and she ends up being a teacher, and they bump into some parents, and it ruins his whole, like, he tries to propose to this girl in the yellow dress 2 different times, and both times he gets just shut down by people bumping into their table. And the guy, and the reason why I wanted to backpedal just a little bit, because this is going to tie in with my at the end, I want to talk a little bit about this, but the guy says when he finds out he's a soldier and he's going away on a leave, the guy's like, "Don't get shot," and I love that guy so much. I love him. He was like my favorite guy in the whole movie. Like, just, have you ever been out and met somebody and said something incredibly awkward to them on the very first meeting? You're like, oh God, I really wish I hadn't said that.
Yeah, I don't think he only says one thing though. Like that guy drops a few bombs in that interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. He's hitting on his girlfriend. They're both talking about their kids. He's kind of hot for teacher a little bit. By the way, she's the kid's teacher. Like, and by the way, like, as a teacher, I can say to everyone listening, this is an absolute real thing. Like, this happens all the time. Like, if you're out and you see parents, they are going to come up mid, like, he could have had the ring out and like holding it up to him. They'd have been like, "So how's Timmy doing? He did that math assignment." People do this all the time. Anyway, we cut back to bar, and this is this scene you wanted to get into where they describe the whole rest, the real premise of the movie. And this is there's a knock at the door, and by the way, right before the knock at the door, we're eating a TV dinner, and Bard decides he's not going to be taking his pills anymore, which, by the way, we have no idea what these pills do. They never
disclose.
Yeah. No, never disclose what the pills do, but it's supposed to be important that he decides not to take the pills anymore. And then there's a knock at the door. So who's at the door? Well, in the movie, it's 2 federal agents, 1 Canadian and 1 American. But who is actually at the door, Darren? Who's this actor?
Oh, man.
Did you recognize him?
I absolutely recognized him. I could not place him for what movies he was from. He's just, again, he is just so token. in so much. But yeah, please
You've
list.
upset me. You've upset me, Darren.
Yeah.
It's Peter.
Oh my
Office
God.
Space.
Yeah, it's from Office Space. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wouldn't say he's been missing work. Okay.
Yeah.
That's Ron
So-
Livingston. Ron Livingston's in this movie.
So I will say that I was distracted
Yes.
by the other federal agent so much
Oh,
because it was
God.
almost like the casting director of this movie was like, how are we going to tell which one is the federal, like the FBI agent, and which one's the Canadian?
Yes.
And they decided
And he
to make
didn't think the American pin was going to be enough.
No. So they put
Ron Livingston's wearing an American pin on his lapel. That was not enough.
So Ron Livingston, the FBI agent, is wearing a black suit, white shirt, black tie, very cut, well trimmed,
Yes.
and absolutely dead on, no accent whatsoever. The Canadian is wearing I don't even know what the material is, tweed, I believe it is, a tweed jacket.
Might be houndstooth.
And a polo, and he's speaking with the most forced French accent that I've ever heard in a movie. It is so bad.
I wrote in my
That's how you can
notes,
tell.
bad French accent. Bad. Okay,
He
so
might as
this might
well
be a
have,
little...
at one point, they might as well have looked over, like the FBI agent look over and be like, what are you doing? And the Canadian is like balls deep in a poutine.
I am just eating this poutine right here.
Would
you care for the maple syrup?
Yeah. It was so bad.
But
anyways, please continue.
Oh my God, I can't. I just have to enjoy that moment for a second. I can just see him eating his poutine. Okay, so Ron Livingston, the guy from Office Space, is the American, and we get this other guy who, by the way, this might be a little racist of me, and I'm sorry if it is, but like I really wanted him to be, because he was of East Indian descent, so I was like really hoping he was like that Samir Naina from Office Space. Like it says there is a paper jam, but there is no paper jam. That guy, I was really hoping it was Ajay Nadu. But no, it was not. I looked on the cast. It was not Ajay Nadu. It was Rizwan Manji, who, of course, is not known for his good French accents. So Sam Elliott's in this scene, and they're describing this scenario to you. And I don't know if you noticed this or not, Darren, but like Sam Elliott is like killing them with his eyeballs. Like he is absolutely murdering them with his look right here in this scene.
He's not happy that his TV dinner is going cold.
And he can't stare at his weird painting of the mountains. Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. He is like, nobody told Sam Elliott what kind of a movie this is, because he is absolutely killing it in this scene. They're going back and forth. They're describing it to him. And Darren, at 46 minutes into the movie now, we finally get the main conflict. And it turns out, get this, Bigfoot exists. He's infected with some sort of virus. Calvin Barr is immune, and he's the only person on the planet that can kill it. Mm-hmm. That's a lot to unpack. What do you think?
So yeah, the basic premise at this point is he's the only person that can kill him, and they need him to go into the Canadian wilderness.
What happens if he fails?
That's the end of the world, my friend. That's it.
Oh my God, that's a big state. Ron Livingston's character, who's named Flagpole or something in the credits, but like he says that pretty much in a line of dialogue that he has the okay, if this goes south, he has okay to like nuke Canada. Did you catch that?
Yeah, A-bombs or atomic bombs or mushroom bombs, or what does he call them?
Who the heck cares?
Yeah,
sure.
So obviously,
whatever it is, it's not going to be good for us. I'll tell you. Us
so
Canadians.
Then, Calvin begrudgingly takes on the mission
because he actually tells these guys no and to get out. And like one of my favorite things that he actually says in the movie, one of my favorite quotes is like when they come in, he actually offers them coffee, and Ron Livingston's character says, "No thanks, we just ate." And he says, "I didn't offer you food, I offered you coffee." And then they actually sit down at the table and don't drink coffee, which I thought was, kind of counterproductive to the whole thing. But at the end of the conversation, it pays off because he says, "Well, how about that coffee?" And then Sam Elliott goes, "Nah, you already ate." Get out of my house. And then he goes and meets his brother. Oh, he drops a mic hard on the guy. This is like my favorite scene for like acting quality because these guys are absolutely ripping it up, man. So like he goes to a scene where this is right before he goes to fight Bigfoot, and we all know he's going to fight him, but he has to have like that penultimate scene first with his brother, right? So like he goes to see his brother. He phones him up, by the way, on a rotary phone. Did you see that? Props to the rotary phone.
Fantastic.
Man. He's still rocking the rotary phone. Should. And he meets up with the doorman, and he's talking with the doorman, and there's this like conversation that breaks down. And I want to like do a little role playing. Do you remember this scene well enough to like kind of ad lib it with me a little bit, buddy?
I think so.
Okay, you're gonna be Sam Elliott. Okay, are you ready? I'm gonna be the doorman. Okay, go for it. Tell me the situation that you said no to.
Well, it turns out I have to go up north and kill Bigfoot. Otherwise, the world's gonna end.
That's not good. It's the greatest line in the entire movie.
No,
well, that's not
so
good.
And he plays it perfectly.
Oh, it's like so good. I'm not making fun of his
buggy.
delivery at all. Yeah. He's just like given this line to give, and he does 100% the best job possible. But like, oh my God, he just like, it's Bigfoot. He's poisoned, and I'm the cure, and I gotta kill him. Well, that's not good. Like, what do you say to that? And then he's like, we should go fishing.
Yeah. He is such a dope the entire movie. Like everything he says is just gold. But,
all right. So he says he's not going to do it. And then his brother's like, dude, your bags are packed. You're in a cab. Like you dropped your dog off at my house earlier. And he's like, yep, turns out I'm going. You convinced me. It's like, all right, I guess we're going.
All right.
So the movie at this point, this movie shifts right here. This movie shifts. Mm-hmm. It shifts perfectly.
This is where it unfortunately goes right off a cliff.
Absolutely into perfect Predator mode is what I called it in my notes. It went from Tarantino spoof to full-on Predator, complete with like helicopter music and everything. So we have this like scene, which I want you to try and unpack for me because I had no idea what to say when I watched it the first time. So he's with Ron Livingston in like this big bubble, and Peter from Office Space is like, hey, you guys Canadians suck at weapons, so I brought all the best weapons. And then Sam Elliott's like, that gun, that scope, that knife, that's it. And he's like, 3 things and I'm gone. And they do this like smash zoom into like Sam Elliott shooting at a monkey, maybe? Like, I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah, I feel like in order to pull in the guy from Office Space, they spent all of their costume budget. So the Bigfoot was... I don't know how to describe this character. It was a very interesting wardrobe. So they just fast forward and it's like, he goes, that's that gun, that scope, that knife, that's it. Yeah. And then the very next thing that happens is him lining up and
shooting Bigfoot in the head. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Which Bigfoot that doesn't look like Bigfoot, which is like one of my favorite things I've ever seen in my life. This smash zoom to him shooting something, and we're like, what is going on? But like, I described this to you earlier before we started filming. It's like one of those like really cheap shag carpet pillows that you can buy that like accents like your couch. Like they just cut those and like super glued them onto like a crypt keeper face from Spirit Halloween. And like, I could not believe that this was the Bigfoot we were given. The whole movie is around this sequence, and it's like this thing looks. Do you agree with me? Does this thing look terrible or what?
It's horrible. It looks like the failed remade costume of the bunny from Donnie Darko. It's
good call,
really
good
bad.
Call.
Yeah.
Why are you?
It looks like
as a person.
Exactly. Yeah. So he shoots Bigfoot square in the head.
Yes.
And take us from
doesn't
there.
kill him. Doesn't kill him. he runs away, and he's got to track him, which, by the way, like, I know we don't want to have a lot of time left to delve into this, but this tracking scene is like super cool, man. Like, it is absolutely fantastic. Like, Sam Elliott in like what I believe to be like real Canadian wilderness, and he is just tracking this thing. It looks beautiful. Again, we do not deserve some of the shots we're getting here. There's a scene legitimately where first of all, Sam Elliott's behind a tree. He's broken his finger. He's tripped and fall because he's an old. And like he's radioing Ron Livingston, and he's like, "Yeah, I got a bit of a hiccup. I broke my finger." And they talk a little bit, and he gets pissed off at Ron Livingston, and then he throws his only means of communication into a river. So it's good. Like, I am not coming back from this. You will never find me. I am going to live out here with the Bigfoot, and we are just going to have a small family and live the rest of its life. So while he's healing from this broken finger and radio destruction, he has another flashback, which we're not going to have time to get into. But of course, like, it's with this yellow dress lady again, and she's fantastic. Did you like believe everything she says in this movie? Like, for such a small role, the actress's name is Caitlin Fitzgerald, and she just does a fantastic job, man. Like, I actually like dig her in a way that I probably shouldn't, from like the small amount of time that she's been on film. What do you think?
She was very good. Yeah, she was a very believable love interest.
Considering there was like no words discussed between him and her, pretty much.
Yeah, I absolutely see why the dad in the restaurant earlier in the movie was just stone cold hitting on her right in front of his wife.
Just ghosting his wife to get a few good words in with the teacher.
He's like, he basically put his hand right on her. He's like, "Shut up, woman. I'm busy."
Quiet. I'm talking to the teacher. You don't understand. Yeah. This is a three-way conference time.
It's about our son's education.
So like, they cut back. She's amazing. I wish we had time to talk about her, but we cut back, and like, there's this like amazing scene where Sam Elliott is climbing a mountain, and like, I honestly was like, I wrote in my notes, like, is he actually climbing a mountain? Like, that's how good that scene looked to me. I was like, I can believe this, man.
He was absolutely laying on the ground and crawling, because at no point do his hands actually grip any part of that rock. Like, he is, I don't know how they shot it. I would love to know, but he is like literally just like crawling on the floor, like is using his elbows, and we're supposed to believe he's climbing a straight up rock face. I don't know how they did it, but it was exceptional. I'm assuming it wasn't high budget special effects, so some kind of camera trickery.
So he climbs to the top of the mountain. He finds Bigfoot. Bigfoot's dead. He shoots him or whatever, and then he decides, okay, I found this thing. I'm gonna do him. I ain't gonna do him dirty like this. I'm gonna get him a nice little cremation. I'm gonna burn him. Get rid of whatever like zombie juice he's got inside of him or whatever. So he does the funeral by fire, and turns out as soon as he starts singeing some of that shag carpet, turns out Bigfoot's not dead. Shocker number one. And he jumps up and he attacks him, right? So were you shocked that Bigfoot wasn't dead here?
I actually was. I thought that was it for the movie. It was a nice little ceremony by the top of a mountain.
That's what I thought too. I was like, "Oh, this is a great way to end it."
Yeah, and Bigfoot comes right back to life, apparently playing possum. Kicks him down the mountain, and
playing Bigfoot could be the title of this, by the way. Yeah, he was playing Bigfoot.
And then the fight scene that you were hoping with Hitler ensues in the hokiest fashion. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I get my Krav Maga scene with the Bigfoot. I can see why they saved it.
Yeah,
they legit like fist fight. I thought for sure they entered like fighting stances at one point. It was great. Sam Elliott's character gets his arm broken. They get like a real close up. And like, here's my question. Like, this is the first real close up we get of the Bigfoot where we get to see him, right, Darren? So like, here's my question to you, man. Like, he's supposed to be sick, right? Like, I get that, but like, is he supposed to be a zombie? Because I got zombie vibes.
I don't think he was supposed to be a zombie, but I mean, he sure looked like it. He was looking like he was in pretty rough shape, possibly dead. Possibly the undead.
He may be dead. He may be undead. We don't know. Yeah. It's a big question mark. Okay, so like, anyway, Sam Elliott stabbies him in the belly a whole bunch of times. He goes to town on Bigfoot's guts. and then Bigfoot pukes on him for some reason, and then Bigfoot Mike Tyson's his ear off, and then he catches him with a couple of blows, and then he shoots him in the face. There's a lot to unpack in this fight scene. You want to take it from here?
Yeah, the projectile vomiting from Bigfoot directly into Sam Elliott's mouth was horribly disturbing.
He did have his mouth open.
And he gets him a few times. The most incredible part I thought was that Bigfoot actually pukes all over him, leaves him alone, and crawls right back up to the mountain spot where his pyre was built.
Yes.
And then just dies there.
Or gets shot in the head or something. It doesn't. I'm not really sure.
Oh, but yes, yeah. No, sorry. He does finish him with a shot to the head right on where he was going to to be burnt anyway. So it was like, you know what? Screw it. I give up.
Yeah. Sometimes your keys are right where you left them.
Exactly.
I like that. And it was nice to have Sam Raimi direct the end of this film. That was really good. So they both die next to each other on top of Mount Canada. And we cut back to the Doorman. So, by the way, Mount Canada, that's a real place. For those of you listening from the U.S., that's a real place. We cut back to the Doorman. We got a little exposition that Yellow Dress died when she was young. And there was like this scene before where like he like burned all of her letters and then had a good cry. So we finally get like an understanding of why he did that, because at the time it made no sense.
Yeah.
So we fast forward after Sam Elliott's funeral. Funny how we just started calling him Sam Elliott because like his character name did not matter.
Right.
So like we like cut back to Sam Elliott's funeral, and after that's all said and done, we're in with the Doorman back in his barbershop. And I got a character who I didn't remember what his name was, so I just wrote Johnny Sideburns. Johnny Sideburns is stealing candy for some reason. And he's having a nice little discussion with the Doorman. The Doorman decides after that discussion's done that he's going to go fishing. Because earlier he said in the most important scene in the entire film where he convinced his brother to go kill Bigfoot that he would just like to go fishing.
Yeah.
So he goes fishing. And what's the big reveal, Darren? As he's fishing, what do we find out?
Man, Sam Elliott still alive. Missing
Nothing
an ear
kills Sam Elliott.
an arm in a sling.
Oh,
why not go fishing?
Yeah. Go fishing in a sling and a missing ear bandage. He cleaned up nice, man. It was good. So yeah, it turns out the brothers reunited. Isn't that a good feeling? It was a real hit home moment there for me.
Yeah.
So you'd think the movie would end there, but no, there's still like another 5 minutes left. We should talk about something that we haven't talked about a lot yet, because I think it's really important for the end of the movie. And that is the idea that like every now and again we get this scene where Sam Elliott pulls this box out of his under his bed, and he looks in the box, and he closes the box, and he puts it back under his bed, and we never ever see what's in the box. It's just something that that we don't ever get disclosed. So we don't get that, and we fast forward to Sam Elliott after the fishing experience. He goes home, and that's the one place he's always wanted to be, and the one thing he's always wanted to do is be alone. For some reason now, at the end of the movie, he doesn't want to be alone anymore, so he decides, what the heck, I'm going to go to a elementary school play. Let's do that. That sounds like something fun. So I guess the Doorman's granddaughter is in it, so that makes it okay. And she's playing a butterfly in it. And this leads to another one of my favorite quotes in the movie. Sam Elliott leans over to the Doorman, and he's like, "Those butterflies are dead this time of year." And it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Why?
Like, I have no idea.
And that's the way it ends. The movie has no closure and a bunch of questions of just why.
So. There's lots of whys. We got a couple minutes left, right? Because we flash back to the final flashback of the movie where he's with Yellow Dress and he's going for a walk, and he may get engaged, he might not. He bends down on one knee, but she keeps walking or something. And for whatever reason, he decides not to get engaged because she doesn't turn around, right? So he goes to his grave and he digs up this box we talked about, and then he looks in it, and we don't get to see what's in it. And at 1 hour and 28 minutes, he takes the box and he goes home, and sure enough, he finally gets that thing out of his shoe. He knocks it on the ground and goes, "Oh, there it is," and that's the end of it. He's all done. He starts walking home with his box, and we don't get the 7 moment, right? Like we didn't find out what's in the box, Darryn.
I gotta think maybe it's the engagement ring, but I have no idea. The box is way too big for that. So
no. You tell me that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah, and it ain't a gun. Like he's not trying to kill himself, right? Like that's not the thing.
No, at no point does he show that. So yeah.
Maybe it's the same thing as like in Pulp Fiction that's in the shiny briefcase. Maybe it's that.
Could be.
You've just been hanging on to it.
Yeah.
All right, man. What do you think? What are your final thoughts?
Like I said, the first hour of the movie is like a lot of neat cuts, a lot of really cool shots. There's some saving graces in it. But if this movie is a cliffhanger, unfortunately, at about the 60-minute mark, they push us right off with the blatant Canadian racism, and then straight into the poorly outfitted Bigfoot. So, unfortunately, I got to give this movie a probably about I got to give her about a 47%.
Ooh, and that's a thumbs down.
That is. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you this, man. This is my thought on this, and I want you to elaborate if you feel like it. Aiden Turner, pardon me, as young Cal, he's so forgettable. Like, he's not somebody who, like, get that guy who played Rico from Starship Troopers. At least that guy had, like, a cool face. You know? The director of photography was Alex Vendler, and like I don't know if that's the guy who's in charge of how beautiful the show looks, but like that guy, like give him an award. He shined this turd up into something fantastic. The first third of the movie I thought was a Tarantino wannabe. The second third of the movie was like a Predator spoof that turned out that they needed way more of a budget. And then the third part of the film was like Green Mile with no heart. That was kind of what I wrote. What do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I like those depictions. Yeah.
Right on, man. The theme of the movie, what do you think the theme is? What's the lesson we pull away from this?
Yeah, I guess it's got to be you can't judge a book by its cover, because I thought that 80-year-old man was useless up until he was going toe-to-toe with the legendary Sasquatch.
Man? How could he be useless? He took out 3 like no-name thugs in the first 4 minutes right before a DUI. He did great.
Yeah, that's fair.
You just weren't watching. I think I think the theme of the movie is it sucks to get old. Like the guy's life sucked. Yeah. Or double tap the Bigfoot. How about that?
Yeah, you gotta double tap the
Bigfoot. How about this one? Don't propose in the dark. You can do that. Would be fine. He would have been great.
There's literally anywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, literally any place, just not in the dark. There's lots of things that are awesome about this movie, man. But I'm going to tell you honestly, I freaking hated it. I hate this movie, and here's why. I'm going to give it a 12%, and here's why. It didn't know what it wanted to be. Okay, this movie could have been fantastic. There was brilliant shots. There was cool lighting. Sam Elliott was chewing scenery with Ron Livingston. If the whole movie was just them at that kitchen table, it would have been like an 85. It would have been so cool. The movie could have ended with him walking onto like a big expensive airplane and they shut the door and like that's the end of the movie and you don't know if he kills Bigfoot or not. The movie could have been really cool if it took itself real serious and like played it for camp. It could have been awesome if it was like super ridiculous. Like if they had that Krav Maga scene where they tear apart the Hitler's den, if they just did all of that crazy, stupid stuff, I would have loved that even more. But no, they had to like, they couldn't find out what they were, man. They were like in between. They just wanted to do both sides of it. They had a genuine, honest film and they had this ridiculous, stupid premise and they smashed them together and I feel like they failed. I changed my mind. I'll give it a 30. I'll give it a 30 because the chick's awesome in it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. All right. She gets 13%. All right. Yeah.
That's all the thing I wanted to say about this, man. So the last thing I wanted to ask you about, and we've done a bunch of quotes so far throughout the movie. What's your favorite one?
It's got to be the Bigfoot, whatever he says when he comes back to life. It's mostly just a scream, but it's pretty fantastic.
Oh, that's glorious. There might be words in there, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And of course, my favorite quote of the whole movie has got to be, it just absolutely has to be, it has to be that, like, don't get shot. I'm very
It's a
confused.
terrible
I
line.
should not have said that.
Absolutely.
It's my favorite line because I have done that a million times. I have put my foot right in my mouth, talking to someone and going like, okay, I'm going to back away slowly now.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
They followed me home. The Velocipastor. A troubled priest.
How long has it been since your last confession?
Oh, it's been about 2 years. I do drugs, sell drugs, murder people. The Velocipastor. A beautiful girl with a dark past.
Last night was amazing.
What are you talking about?
The time you turned into a dinosaur and ate someone.
What?
Dinosaurs.
You guys talk all the time about helping people. This might actually be the first time in your life you can.
By what? Killing people?
Yes.
Show me I mean anything to you. Show me you got better shit to do. Show me I'm the one disfigured like the match caress that trigger. Show me I mean anything to you. Show me I mean anything to you.
The Velocipastor.